Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Hold on a second. Water. Mm.
Try to clear my throat.
Let me clear mine too, girl. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. I'm here with my beautiful wife. Say hi, boo.
Hi everyone, I'm AKDI and I'm from Turkey, and today we are reviewing Challengers.
This is episode 66 of Simon and Acting Movie Reviews. And I'll be frank, this is a film that I kind of had on my watch list this year. I was like, I want to check it out, but if I don't see it this year, I'll be fine. But I'm glad last night we did a live with Acti, live stream on my channel, and my guy Nelson Moreno suggested this film for us to review. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's get it out the way, because you know what? Why not? Let's watch something light after watching all these heavy movies. And I can say I enjoyed it after watching it. How did you feel?
For my expectations for the movie, I thought everyone was hyping it up because Zendaya was in it. So I was sort of just expecting like a story. I wasn't expecting something too, extravagant or anything like that, too different. So just like you, I was like, okay, maybe I'll see it sometime. But after watching it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It kept me watching. I was on the edge of my seat at the end, and I thought the story was told very cleverly and beautifully. So I enjoyed it.
If people are hyping this movie up because of Zendaya, that's not a bad thing because she is a great actress and I think she's getting better as the years pass on. The opposite of Sydney Sweeney, right? Like Sydney is getting worse. Zendaya is reaching for the stars and I'm very excited to see what will happen for her in her acting career. But I think people are also hyping up this film because this is, no offense, this is like a sports film made for the female palate. Right. I've seen a lot of sports films in my day, like Remember the Titans, Rudy, whatever, right? I also like sports docs as well. And so there are some cliches in here when it comes to a sports movie, but because they have the love triangle story in it, I feel like a lot of women are going to be into it.
I don't think it's only for women because it's yeah, there's a love triangle, but it's not only a tennis movie or a sports movie. And it's a mixture of, a relationship movie and sports. And I feel like tennis here was used as an instrument to tell the relationship.
Yeah. I don't know why tennis is able to have some interesting stories told within it because this is, the second tennis movie we've seen in the past few years. What was it? King Richard with Will Smith. That was a good movie. This, I can say, is a good movie, though there are some problematic parts in it. And it's not a perfect film, but it's entertaining, right? Why do you think tennis is able to have these sort of stories told?
I don't know, but I do like watching tennis. And for me, I would say it's easy to follow, but it's also there is a lot of tension. And it's mostly, two players or maximum four players. So maybe that's why. And also in the movie, they sort of explain tennis like a relationship, right?
Mhm.
So maybe also that's the reason as well. You can follow it quickly and it represents relationship as
Yeah,
well.
because you need two people to play. It's not like basketball where you can go to the court and just shoot something, right? You have to have a partner.
Yeah, yeah.
I get you. I don't like watching any sports. I just like playing them, but I didn't know that you like watching tennis. Have you ever seen a match?
Professionally, no, but whenever if I see it on TV, when I was a teenager, I used to watch it. And also when I was living in Serbia, whenever I went to Kalemegdan, I would go up to the tennis courts and watch the players there.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay. So I guess you were trying to find your own Art Donaldson and Patrick Zwig.
No, no. It was most of the time it was like kids training, like,
Hmm.
teenagers training with their trainers, like old
Uh-huh.
guys.
Actually, it's okay. You trying to be Tashi out there, trying to find you a little boo or
I
two.
don't play tennis. I wish I could. I tried a couple of times, but I don't know. I can't, I guess. Or I didn't try it hard enough.
Yeah, I tried to play tennis with my little cousin. She's like, I don't know, 10 years younger than me, and she whooped my ass. Like, I couldn't even volley with her. Like, I would hit the ball to her, she would knock it back to me, and I would be like chasing after it. It's really bad.
Yeah. Same here. I try to play it with my friend.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm also going to get this out of the way because this film kind of created some controversy online because Zendaya, she is a black woman or black adjacent, ostensibly black. Who knows, right? Is it so like on the weird parts of the internet where I be on, people were upset that the screenshots of this film leaked showing Zendaya, getting kissed on by two white dudes. And the rumor was that okay, Zendaya's about to get double teamed on in this film, like be put in the H by Conrad and Jake. You feel me? So I don't know. I have to get over this for me. I have to get over this for me. I've spoken about this before, but I used to be upset about black women dating white men. I'm not now. I'm not now. But I just think about our ancestors. I think about, the mastering, like taking our wives away to the big house and stuff like that. And I don't know, my history, the genealogical genetic history implanted in my brain, it just always makes me go back to that. My lizard brain. I know I need to fight against that. You feel me? So I don't know. What do you think about some people who will be upset about this movie because, Zendaya is this one black girl in this very white movie caught between two white boys?
I think I don't see a problem with it, obviously, but I don't, come from the same background. But it's like I think people should be proud because I feel like in the movie Zendaya's character also makes clear that she's aware that she's a black woman in this sort of environment. And there are a couple of lines that she delivers where, she's aware of it
Hmm.
and she's comfortable in her position and she knows she has power. So
Hmm.
I think it's something to be proud of rather than to critique.
Hmm.
And like, yeah, today is different. Of course, there's the trauma of the past, and I understand that, but at the same time, I think we should try to heal from it.
Right, right. I don't know if I'm ready to live in post-racial world, or at least go into media in the post-racial world that's created on screen or on film. You get what I'm saying? It's so hard for me to divorce like the reality of now to like the existence on screen where they act like Tashi's blackness is sort of like secondary or doesn't even matter at all. And I've noticed this by the guy, the film director, Luca Guadagnino. He's also the same guy that did, Call Me By Your Name, Suspiria, the film, and he also did the TV show We Are Who We Are. He wrote it, directed it, and I noticed that in his stories, like the love triangles and the romance between the characters, it never involves, the identities of the characters, especially the black characters. It's literally non-existent. And I don't know if I'm ready to, suspend belief that much when I go into films. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, and I don't think you have to suspend your belief. Like, I think you should be allowed to feel towards it however you want to feel, but at the same time, you should be like kind of forcing yourself to say it's okay. Like maybe it's uncomfortable in certain times, but at the same time, if you want to see everyone together in the future without race being an issue,
Hmm.
then you also have to be ready to accept that as well.
Right, right. And I want to make this clear for anybody saying, oh, Simon's a racist. He hates interracial relationships. I can't be racist, guys. My wife is white. I'm sorry. But it's like, it's like this. It's not that it bothers me. I'm trying to be radically honest here with myself and say that it did bother me. But what I'm saying is like for the screen, for the film, right? It's like in these stories, I would think, being the one black girl at the country tennis club and competing at that high level and stuff like that, because tennis is still a very white sport. Yeah, we've had Venus and Serena and what's the girl's name married to YBN Corday? I forgot her name. Osaka, something like that. Right? Do you know who I'm talking about? Naomi Osaka. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I heard her name. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are some prominent, black, tennis players, but it is still a very white sport and stuff like that. So it is, you would think that that would be more in tune with the story, right? But that's not, done here. And I'm also pleasantly surprised because what I thought would happen in the story didn't actually happen. She didn't get split roasted by Conrad and Jake. She wasn't, playing with two poles at the same time. None of that happened. In fact, she actually turned the tables on the guys. So I'm glad I didn't let like my bias or my presupposition about this film get in the way of me watching it.
Yeah, I think, like, once again, yeah. But we have to remember, like, what the movie is trying to tell us. So, yeah, the movie wasn't focusing really on, the race and, her being a black woman in a very white sport and also always being surrounded by white men specifically. It wasn't focusing on that, but again, I think there were some lines that was making it clear for us that, yeah, I think she still feels a bit of an outsider because she is black.
I get
And
what
I
you're
like
saying.
that, they did it in very minimal way, but it wasn't like the director was completely blind to it, I would say.
No, he was completely blind to it. Okay, he put a line in here. Oh, that Swiss player was racist, or oh, I'm controlling my two white boys. Okay, yeah, she says that, but is that really enough to talk about maybe the alienation she feels, or
No,
the hopelessness she feels having to be in this white space? Go ahead.
No, it's not enough, but that's not the purpose of the movie. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, that's not the story of the movie.
Well, what do you think is the purpose? Because I think you could walk away with this with several different sort of stories. Because there's homoeroticism in here. There's the story of Cleopatra and Caesar and Mark Antony here. There's the story of, so many women who are trapped between, their careers and their husbands and their families. I think there's multiple different stories or themes. But what do you think the film is trying to say?
Like you said, it does have a lot of themes. For me, what I got from it is that, like, sometimes in life you follow certain passions, but then life sort of takes you out of it. And also at the same time, sometimes society sort of puts us in certain, um, lines, and we can't think of getting out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, for example, maybe they should have, had a three-way relationship their whole lives, but, usually society looks down on that.
I was screaming at the screen, please be Polly. Please just be Polly. Get it over with.
Yeah, exactly. Or, following your passion in terms of, like, Tashi's character. She's very passionate about tennis and she's a perfectionist. She's a workaholic, but she was trying to, like, calm that down even though she was really bad at it, and try to, like, live this relationship she was supposed to have with her husband, right? She
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to love her husband no matter what and all sorts of things, but that wasn't who she was. So for me, it was sort of like going back to your, those, like, primal feelings and things that you felt.
Yeah.
That was sort of my takeaway from it. I don't know if that was sort of like all over the place, but yeah.
No, it's not all over the place. I think, that tells the story and it talks about the struggle that Tashi was in, but also sort of like the struggle that Patrick, was in, and Art as well. Like, you have your passion, but your passion can't carry you forever, right? Even if you reach the top, your passion has to end eventually, especially if you're playing a sport as you get older. And if you never make it, when do you call it the end, right? And society will put you in those sorts of boxes, because then what can you do? Just be a tennis coach, be I don't know, commentator. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like each character, the three main character, they wanted different things, and they sort of let what other people want and what society expects from them get in the way of achieving them, and then at the end it sort of created this explosion for them.
I sort of disagree that they all wanted the same thing. Cause I really think Tashi wanted to win. And this is the problem about this film, not focusing on race and class, just hinting at it, right? Cause Tashi said, oh, I couldn't afford to go to boarding school. We couldn't do this and that, right? So she obviously probably comes from a, disadvantaged background. Meanwhile, there's hints to Art and Patrick coming from very rich, bougie families. So they were just playing tennis because that's what's expected of upper class, white men of that time, right? And meanwhile, Tashi is playing to like really make it. And I think the struggle that Tashi had with her two white boys is that they really didn't have the passion for tennis. They needed somebody to push them, or they just needed pussy. They needed a carrot in front of them. And meanwhile, Tashi had a stick behind her. Pause. No Diddy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I said they want different things, not the same things,
Oh,
but
sorry.
they let certain people, like whether it's their partners, it's their child, it's their dads, whatever, get in the way of actually admitting that they wanted those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Sorry. Next time I misquote you, just interrupt me and say, shut up, Simon. Shut up.
Wow. Okay.
But, yeah, should we get into the story?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So yeah, basically the story opens with this guy playing tennis very intently, and the rest of the people are watching the ball go back and forth. So they're like turning their heads like they're doing no. But one person in the crowd is not really turning their head. She's just staying and looking at one guy, the man in white. And then later on, there's a night scene when the tennis player that the girl was focusing on is in bed, and we see her coming out of the bathroom. And this is 2 weeks earlier before that tennis match, right? And, we see Zendaya, and Zendaya got a lot of ass. And, Zendaya's like putting lotion on her legs and stuff like that. And we see she has a scar on her knee. And then, she tells her husband to get up, right, out of bed. And so he's laying down getting like stretches and treatment and stuff like that. And, the girl who's Zendaya's playing, her name is Tashi. She's watching, the news reports about how her husband was playing and who he is up to play next against. And, also she has a daughter in the background who's like playing with her husband's mother and stuff like that. So we sort of see how their whole life is. And, one of the things that Tashi does is she's preparing the advertisements for like Aston Martin or something like that. And their tagline is like game changer. And she adds the S at the end with a red marker to game changers for how she wants it to be. Her husband comes and then turns off or mutes the TV. So, cause he doesn't want to hear them talking about how he's playing anymore. So what did you think about like the first opening scenes and like the introduction to the characters and everything like that?
Yeah, so right off the bat, I think Tashi's character is giving like the oppressor wife, right? The wife who's a workaholic, and she sort of like pushes her husband to his limits. And, she also, when they showed that scene with her putting the S on the poster, it seemed like she saw themselves as a team and not just her husband being the hero, but she wanted to be hero as well, or she wanted to be like a team. So yeah, and their marriage looks sort of like cold and sexless and, sort of just around the work and tennis.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like resentment from Art towards his wife, I would say. That's what I felt.
Yeah. Yeah, it did give that vibe of like the happiness is gone in this marriage. It's all about work, work, work. And, yeah, she was definitely the one pushing him. And when I saw her write the S on it, and the way she looked and looked at the screen, and Zendaya is very good at her facial expressions. Like she's good at conveying a lot of emotions, through her face. And yeah, it looked like she was like I didn't know what to think at the beginning. Like either she was trying to like force her relevance in his story, or she was trying to reclaim some sort of importance that was lost for her. So that's what I was thinking at the very beginning. But then moving on in the story, her husband is about to play against this French teenager. His name is Demaria, and her husband is the favorite to win because he's like a world class tennis player. But, they play the match and he ends up getting his ass beat. And so then, in the next scene, her husband and Tashi are sitting back on the hotel couch and they're watching the replay, and he's like, well, I played pretty good. And she was like, you suck. You fucking suck. Fucking loser. And then her daughter comes in and she's like, Mommy, can we go play? And she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so then, they have a discussion where uh, he wants to continue playing, but she's like telling him, you're not good enough anymore. You suck. So then she puts him in a challenger event in somewhere like in Cincinnati or something. Phil's Tires Challengers in Cincinnati. And, yeah, that's what they decide to do after he continues losing because he needs to get his streak back. What did you think about any of that?
Yeah, that conversation they had on the couch, it
Mm-hmm.
gave a lot of hints to their relationship because she said something like, "Oh, I would have loved to have your recovery."
Mm.
So I felt like there was some resentment towards Tashi
Yeah.
to Art.
Yeah.
And also, like, their kid coming in, and mom is like, "Oh, we're talking about tennis, but I'll watch, cartoons with you later."
Yeah. Yeah.
So it kind of shows also maybe she's okay to ignore her child as well, even
Mm-hmm.
though they're not really working right now.
Yeah.
And it also felt like, Art was trying to like make a move on her
Mm-hmm.
when they got closer, and she was still like looking at the challenger, the event, and all sorts of things. So it felt like she only gave her pussy when she was like he was winning,
Mm-hmm.
and that was sort of like her, pusher.
Yeah, it was an interesting scene on the couch because it felt like there was still some romance there or some affection towards each other because they did kind of like curl up after they had that mini fight. But then, like you said, Acti, it felt like she only showed affection when he wanted to win or when he showed the motivation and drive to win. So then, a few days later, we see this guy trying to check into a hotel, but his card is not working, and so he's trying to convince the lady behind the counter that, hey, let me stay here. I'm a professional tennis player. I get paid even if I lose, but I need the money tomorrow, or I get the money tomorrow. So can you give me a break? Meanwhile, these two gay guys are like standing behind him trying to check in, and they're like, ooh, I want that bussy. And he turns around and says, what? And then they say, nothing, nothing. And then he leaves and he drives his car to the court, to the parking lot where the tennis match will be, and he sleeps there. What did you think about our introduction to Patrick Zweig?
Yes, Zweig's character, it was like interesting to see him try to use his sexuality to sort of, you know, affect this woman on the counter, who I would assume he doesn't find attractive, but like his face was super close to her, and he was trying to smile and all of that, while at the same time this gay couple behind him was, checking him out. I
Mhm.
thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And I also was thinking like, okay, I guess it's hard for men to use their sexuality to sort of, gain something.
Right.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, and I thought it was like an interesting choice to have those two gay guys as like the, mini characters.
Yeah.
Like, why that? I was
I
thinking
thought
about that.
I thought they would play a bigger role in the story, but they didn't. But that scene was just funny. But I think that scene is important because watching this film the second time around, because I'm watching it now, like on the playback, there's a lot of homoerotic scenes in here. Like the scene when we first meet Art and his coach has to like lean forward on his leg, and it's very, they're very, very close. And then there's that scene where Patrick Swayze is like, trying to convince the lady behind the counter to let him stay by flirting with her. And then those two guys come up behind him and they're, flirting with him. And then later on in the film, we see like Patrick is so down on his luck that he's on Tinder, swiping right on everything, even men. right? And I think there's so many parts of this film that highlight the undercurrents of like bro love between men in sports, and how that barrier is sort of up, but it's brought down in this film. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. There's constantly like this sort of platonic gay vibes.
Yeah.
And they never really explore it, but it's always like
Oh,
that
oh
tension
yes, they
is there.
do. Oh, we about to get
Yeah,
there. Oh, they
yeah,
explore it.
they explore it, but not to the like fullest where they're like, oh, I'm gay or I'm bi. Like
Hmm.
no one ever says anything like that, but they just sort of go off of the moment,
Hmm.
I guess. And you know, that's interesting to be discovered because I think as a woman, there are times where I feel that with my friends, right?
Hmm.
And I don't act on it because it's not something that I want initially, but I can appreciate some of my like friends' beauty or attractiveness, and that's just that.
Oh, you need to
Like,
kiss your friends. Go ahead and kiss your
no,
friends.
that's the thing. Like, I don't want to kiss them or I don't want to like do anything sexual with them, but I can appreciate that. And it's not like attention where I'm like, oh, like I want to kiss her or anything like that.
Hmm.
But I think it just comes with my human nature.
Right,
And
right.
it's just something like minimal, but it's still there. And I
Hmm.
think it was interesting to discover that in this movie with men, because men, like straight guys, most of the time are like always, you know, say something, no diddy, and sort of like trying to always establish that they find other men gross in terms of like sexuality. And I thought
Hmm.
it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in sports, like it's very close contact, and it's very primal, and this film sort of like breaks that down, right, and tears that wall down between the guys in this film, as we're about to see. So yeah. Anyway, Patrick Zweg, he's like sleeping in his car. The cop tries to wake him up and says, "Sir, you can't sleep here." And he says, "No, no, I'm a professional player." And he's like, "Ugh, okay, I guess. Well, you can go check in." So Patrick goes to check in, and there's a woman behind the counter. She says, "Are you hungry?" Because Patrick is like staring at her bagel. And so he like eats the bagel, and she tells him like, "I was there at your very first, championship, or your very first competition," something like that. And then we get a flashback to 13, no, sorry. After that, later on, they fast forward, and Patrick is playing against, Art Donaldson, who is the wife of, no, who is the husband of Tashi. And so they're playing a very intense match and stuff like that. And then we get a flashback to 13 years before, and we see Patrick and Art are actually like on the same team. They're playing a 2-on-2 tennis match against somebody, and Patrick scores like this crazy shot, and they win. And they get the trophies, and people are celebrating the duo called Fire and Ice, right? And so yeah, they're about to have a competition against each other later, for this tournament that they're in. And the two guys are walking away like, and I think, who was it? Was it Art or was it Patrick that said, "Please don't beat me, tomorrow. I know you can beat me, but don't do it. Let me win," or something like that, right? Who was
Yeah, it
that?
was art because he said like my grandma is watching
Uh huh.
and she's sick, so can you not beat me tomorrow?
Ah, so Art always knew that Patrick was a better player, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I see. I see. Okay. So yeah, the two guys are like eating ice cream and like chilling out after they won this championship. And then they go watch the girls play. And as they sit in the crowd, they see Tashi Duncan, for the first time. And it's, Zendaya's character, but like 13 years younger. She's got this long braided ponytail, and she is like dominating this Swiss girl, like just absolutely demolishing her. And when she like wins the match, she does this big scream like, "Ah, come on," something like that. And the two guys are just like floored with her. They're both like enamored, like instantly in love, both of them. And so then later on, there's like this after party, where, Tashi is like, smoozing with all the people, around who are like representing for Adidas and Nike. She's also there with her parents. And Patrick and Art are there too, and they're like, wow, she's gonna be so successful. She's gonna have a foundation. She's gonna have millions of dollars, endorsements, and stuff like that. So then the two guys eventually like approach her, and they're trying to like, just get to know her. And she's like, I know you two already. You're fire and ice. And, there's this back and forth banter until, Tashi's father says, baby, come here. I need you to meet somebody. And then she leaves. And the two guys are just like stuck there, sitting there at the party, like talking about her. What did you think about any of those scenes?
Yeah, so when the story went back in time and we saw that they were on the same team, I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of surprised. I didn't expect that. And also we were a little bit confused. Like, are those the same guys?
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, they do look kind of similar, except from the hair, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, like their friendship seemed very real.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like somewhat homoerotic, I guess, a little bit, because when they win, they like hug and they're on the floor on top of each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it felt like, yeah, their friendship like went back and they
Mm-hmm.
really were comfortable with each other. So comfortable that it's okay that they can admit they like the same girl and they're both basically like trying to flirt with her at the same time and make a move on her.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, then when we went Tashi's character, I really love Zendaya's whole acting. Like you said, she's very good with her facial expressions. And I think she really captured that, perfectionist, passionate, like tennis player, sportsman, all of those things. It was there. And I really liked like everything about her character. And I also liked that she had a sort of like a big ego because she knew she was very successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was a beast on the court and all sorts of things. And she was also, yeah, like that, she was like the young teenager girl who had everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but I don't know. I was confused about like which boy she likes more. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was never obvious because I felt like she was annoyed by Patrick a little bit and was leaning more towards Art. But
Are you
maybe
talking
that's
about at the
because,
very beginning, like when they first met, like at that party?
yeah, like their first conversations.
I got the opposite feeling. I thought, Patrick was coming on more smooth and Art was just more about like nerdy with it, like no game.
Yeah, but yeah, no, Art was more nerdy. He was sort of quiet and all of that, but I didn't know what she was leaning into.
Uh-huh.
Like, did she like the quiet boy or did she like the, nosy boy who has game?
Right. My impression of when Tashi first had these two guys coming at her, it was like, imagine this story in the opposite way. Like Tashi is a guy and two tennis girls are coming at him. He's going to be try to like cool with it and play her with it. And I feel like Tashi, because of all the success and power that she had being this successful tennis player at this young age, she's like, okay, let me try and just, use this to my advantage. I got two hot guys coming at me. Let me, play it cool and see how it goes. Did you get that impression?
Yeah, yeah, I got that impression as well.
Yeah.
Because I felt like again, she was like a teenage girl who had everything, right? She had
Mm-hmm.
looks, she had the smarts, she had, money and
Right.
popularity, so she was using that.
Right, right, right. But I also felt like this scene was sort of like, how can I say this? Because they're like the two guys, they're making comments like Tashi's going to be so successful. She's going to have her foundation that takes inner city youth off of the streets and puts them on the courts. And, one of the guys is like, shut up, stop making fun of her. But I felt like this scene could have been a great way to sort of like highlight really the differences in the worlds that these guys come from. Because one thing I sort of don't like about this film, is like they sort of divorce these kids, because they're like teens or very young adults at this time, from their backgrounds, from their parents, right? Like, let's really make this absolutely clear. Like Patrick and Art probably come from very wealthy, aristocratic, American-esque families, right? And Tashi is grinding her way up like Serena and Venus. Like I felt like, this scene and then also the scene later when, Art and Patrick go to the beach and they're talking about, tennis and love and relationships and, Tashi's plans to go to university and not go pro exactly after. I felt like that was a very good, time to really solidify who these people are because this movie makes it seem like they're divorced from their backgrounds. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that. And I agree with that because we don't really even see their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We only like hear Tashi's dad saying "baby," and that's it. So yeah, like maybe why or how did you start tennis or something like that could have been talked about.
Yeah, yeah. Now, do you want to talk about the beach scene, like when they leave the party? Because afterwards, like, Patrick and Donald, invite Tashi to the beach to go drink some beers or smoke or whatever. So,
Yeah, like in that scene, I think it sort of summarizes maybe the relationship of the three of them and also throughout the movie a little bit of what Tashi says, because I guess the most important part is Tashi says like tennis is like a relationship.
mm-hmm,
And, for a second there, me and her, like she's talking about her previous match today, we understood each other, we knew what we were feeling, and it was like a relationship.
mm-hmm,
And I feel like that kind of summarizes, also a little bit of the three of their relationship, but also the relationship every character has with tennis as well.
mm-hmm. But I sort of was a bit confused by that because she said in that conversation at the beach where she was like Socrates on the rock talking to her students, she says, this is you guys' problem. You think tennis is just a game. It's more than that. It's a relationship. When me and Anna or whoever were playing tennis, we were only playing tennis really for about 15 seconds. And in those 15 seconds, it was like we were in love back and forth. But then what happens after the 15 seconds? She didn't say, like, after that, is it a blood sport? Because I got the impression Tashi wanted to win at all costs. And so, yeah, she maybe enjoyed the game for 15 seconds, but then after that, it's about winning. You get what I'm saying? So is that a relationship? I don't think so.
I think what Tashi wanted was to win, yes, but I think she also wanted to win against the best. So she wanted to have like a good, really good, solid game of tennis and then at the end come as winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what she valued because she just saw tennis like art or like just part of her life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it was her passion. But yeah, I mean, in a relationship, you also fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, if you have a fight, maybe there is a winner at the end and
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. So I think that's included in the relationship. But I just felt like she thought her opponent was only able to feel what she was feeling for 15 seconds.
Mm. I get what you're saying. I mean, 15 seconds is also like the amount of time you enjoy your post orgasm, right? Like when you nut, it's like just 15 seconds. So is that what she's implying as well? Like similar to sex, tennis has only that major highlight and maybe the 15 seconds were when she won, like those final few volleys when she knew she had the game. So it was like an orgasm. No?
I think so, yeah, because I mean, I'm gonna go a bit further, but later in the movie as well, whenever we see like these players playing tennis, there is a lot of body, and they show the halftime when the players are resting, and
Mm-hmm.
they're all sweaty. They take off their t-shirt, they're laying down, and it feels like after sex. It's like you're sweaty and you're laying down.
Okay, I can
So
see that too.
I think once again, like she said, it was like a relationship. Maybe like, yeah, it was like a relationship. It was like sex. There was orgasm. There was afterwards.
Yeah,
And yeah.
right. Well, we're getting now to probably one of the most definitive scenes here. This isn't my favorite scene in the film, but it is probably one of the most entertaining. So the two guys try to invite Tashi to come to their hotel room because they say they have beer and they want to continue talking about tennis and stuff like that. The two guys are also throwing shade at each other because like, Donaldson says, "Hey, Patrick has a girlfriend," and Patrick's like, "No, I don't, and you have a girlfriend," something like that, right? But they're sitting in the hotel room. The two guys are just like, just fucking around, and they're like, "She's not gonna come. She's not gonna make it. Whatever, whatever." And if she does come, what do we do? Like, one of us tries to sleep with her, and the other one tries to sit in the bathroom until it's done. And then while they're having this discussion, they hear a knock at the door, and it's Tashi. She actually shows up, and she's sitting there talking with them. But when they finally, while she's talking with them, she understands some more about their relationship. Like, these two guys went to boarding school together. They've known each other mostly like all of their lives. And, Patrick tells an embarrassing story about Art, that he taught Art how to jerk off, right? And, it's a kind of a weird situation to be in. And then, Tashi finishes her beer and says, there's no more. And the two guys are sort of like sitting there in silence. Tashi's, gets up, sits on the bed and says to both of the guys, "Come here." And they both, sit on both sides of her, and she starts kissing Art first, and then she kisses Patrick, and then she pulls her hair back, and then both of them kiss on her neck, and then they have like a three-way kiss together, and then she leans back and makes them continue kissing, and she's just like sitting on the bed watching these two guys make out with each other until she says, "Okay." And then she gets up and she says, "I'll see you guys tomorrow." And they're like, "Whoa, wait, can we get your number? Can we get your number, please?" And she says, "Whoever wins the game tomorrow will get my number." And, yeah, she leaves the room, and, Patrick, says, "I'm gonna beat the shit out of you tomorrow," or something like that. And I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, what do you think about that scene?
Yeah, that was definitely interesting. It was nice to see like that teenage horniness with their conversation. I think they reflected that well. It was like, yeah, we have like this tennis superstar girl and we both want to be with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, they did a great job with the conversation showing that competitiveness, but then they're also like able to be friends as well. And what happened with like their conversation, how they were telling, oh, like I taught him how to jerk off and all sorts of things. I felt like Tashi was trying to like get them to admit that they were gay
Mm-hmm.
or they had like sex before or something like that. And when like the whole action happened, I was like, okay, where's the story going? Is like Tashi gonna bring out the love that two guys have for each other, and it's gonna be more than platonic? Because when the two guys were kissing, it was like sort of like they forgot Tashi was in the room. When the main like game here was Tashi in the beginning. So for me, I was thinking like, okay, like what is gonna happen? Are they gonna be the power couple like Art and Patrick? So I was a bit confused, but I also liked Tashi's like courage to go there and explore that as well.
Right, right. Um, I have a lot to say about this scene. There's so many ways to break down this scene and the levels of importance here. I'm just going to start here. Okay, number one, Tashi is tripping off of the power, right? The same way a male athlete star can make two girls come into his hotel room and start kissing on each other. She's like, wow, now I have a dick now. Basically, Tashi felt the power of the penis at that moment, right? And that's probably very intoxicating for her, which is why she had that face looking at it. Secondly, I have to take it there because she is a black woman. She's like, wow, I'm in control right now of these two white men, right? Like, I don't think the difference in power levels is not forgotten by her. So she's like, I got these two white boys, the most, privileged people on the planet doing anything for me right now. So she was tripping off of the power there. Third thing I gotta say, it's like, once again, this film reminds me of the story of Cleopatra so much because Cleopatra had Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, two of the most powerful men in the Roman Republic or Empire, bowing at her feet. And so that reminded me of that in that scene as well. And just basically being able to do what she wants at that moment, a young girl having her way, it was kind of cool to see. It was very cool to see. I don't think I've seen, a black woman that empowered on screen before in that way.
Yeah.
Comments?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that she was on a power high,
Mm-hmm.
and she was sort of like proving pussy rules the world.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, men will do anything to, go to that length
Right.
as well. But at the same time, like, the guys didn't feel uncomfortable doing it
Mm-hmm.
either. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of the power high and her abusing her power, not
Mm-hmm.
abusing, but just using it,
Mm-hmm.
to see something maybe she might never be able to see
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah.
And also like the embracing of homoeroticism as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? By the
Right.
guys.
Right, right. I also think there was this degree of, how can I say this? I don't know exactly how to put it. Of like, damn, I had it right there at the tip of my tongue. But, yeah, when going back to like her breaking down the story of like, cause she said I didn't want to be a home wrecker. Remember that? Like that's a constant thing she says throughout the film. And when she first got invited to the hotel room, she says, I don't want to come in here and break up, Patrick if he has a girlfriend or any of you guys having that, right? And then when she does make these two guys kiss, it's sort of like now she finally gets to see what's real. Like behind all of the machismo, behind all the patriarchy, like these guys probably really do love each other or have some unrequited, attraction to each other where they don't know how to express it. But I was able to bring out what's real and what's powerful. And I think that goes to show Tashi's power throughout this film is that she's able to bring out what's really underneath the surface of somebody. If somebody's great, she can find a way to pull that out. And as we see later, or as we saw before, her husband is great. He is a great tennis player because she was able to make him into a champion. But it does take like some deep, deep digging and force to get that out of people. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a very good point. She is powerful in that sense, not only about tennis, but also just like about emotions and sexuality as well.
Right. But the danger, and this goes back to the home record part, to get that greatness out of you, something has to be wrecked. Something has to be destroyed. And she did have to wreck the home between Patrick and Art to make this happen, right? For Art to be great, she did have to break up Patrick and Art. You get what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
meanwhile, these guys are just going to hide their love for each other, their secret fantasies about each other under covers. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I think, like, yeah, she continuously said she didn't want to be a homewrecker, but I felt like she was ready to be one.
Mm.
Like, I felt like she just said that like a warning,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense, because she was, and also maybe she didn't want the person to be blamed.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, I don't want to be a home wrecker, but if you consent to whatever I'm doing and I'm saying,
Yeah.
then it's not on me anymore. It's on you. And I will do whatever to
Yeah.
sort of control the situation, whether it's be sexuality, friendship, or tennis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very moving scene. It's a scene that also might trigger some hoteps out there, some black radicals who might be like, "Y'all get these white men off of this girl." I can't get it. I can't get it. But I can understand why people are upset. But it was a very cool scene, and I'm glad it didn't turn out the way I thought it would be, with her just getting piped out by Conrad and Jake.
Yeah, I'm glad too. Like, I didn't have any feelings toward it, but I like the fact that she was always keeping these men on their toes.
Yeah.
And like not giving in easily. Like, she wasn't, I felt like she wasn't really doing it for sexual enjoyment.
Yeah.
It was more like she was, playing cat and mouse. And yeah, like she was just like, she was getting that high, that orgasm by her games and not really the act of sex itself.
But I would say this scene is probably tragic in retrospect because this is the peak of her power. Because after this, she sort of gets lost in the sauce and then ends up becoming the supporter of these great men rather than the controller of them. You get what I'm saying? Because as we'll see in the story, she loses her abilities to be the most powerful one in the room, and she ends up just being the object these men fight over. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, destiny, I guess, if you can call it that, sort of makes that happen because, yeah, it's nothing that she can help with, really.
Yeah. But anyway, going back to the present, right? Patrick is in the tournament, and this is before he faces Art Donaldson, and he's like, beating all the people that are coming up against him, and he's on Tinder swiping, like I said earlier, on anything that moves, and he ends up matching with this girl. He goes with her on a date, and she is sort of interested in his life as a tennis player, but she sort of doesn't get it. And as she's talking about her boring career in like real estate law, Tashi walks into the hotel where they're having this date. And so Patrick goes up to her and is telling, Tashi, like, I didn't come here for you. I came here to win or something like that. And, Tashi is not feeling it at all. She's basically like, get out of here, seal the deal. I don't ever want to see you again or talk to you again. And, Patrick then goes back to the real estate girl and, kisses her and ends up, being able to sleep at her house and not in her car. What did you think about those scenes?
First of all, constantly when Patrick is like trying to find a place to stay and things like that, I was thinking like, how broke is this man? Like, he can't eat. He doesn't have money to buy a sandwich. He doesn't have money to stay anywhere. And it was just like, I was sad. I was really sad for him because he seemed like he's talented, in tennis. And also, like, while all of this is happening, I think like we see the first set was over, like in their game, and the set break. During the set break, like, Zweig is always like smiling at, like, he's giving that like annoying smirk to Art, but Art is like really not reacting to it. So then we understand there's like bad blood between them as well. And like, I don't know, something happened. We don't know what happened yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also with the conversation that Patrick has with Tashi as well, I was getting the feeling, okay, there's gonna be like a love triangle here. Something happened between like all three of them. But yeah.
Yeah, I like how this film shows like the real raw broke side of tennis. And you and I were talking about this last night. A long time ago when we were living in Serbia in Belgrade, we went to this bar where we used to throw darts, and this guy was a tennis player there. He was like a very low ranking tennis player traveling around the world doing like tournaments and matches and stuff. And he broke down the game for us. And he basically said, yeah, being a low level tennis player really sucks because you don't have the money for your own trainers. You basically have to get by doing classes here and there and, helping out at courts and stuff like that. And, there's a ranking in the world for every tennis player. And the lower you are on that list, the harder it is to climb up on it. And, yeah, it's, it's basically worse than being like a mixtape rapper. It's, it's one of the hardest ways to ever make it in sports. And, yeah, it was interesting to see that in film because even though tennis is like a somewhat aristocratic sport, it still has like this grimy side to it. And Patrick is sort of representing that aspect of the game. So that was cool to see, him to be homosexual like that. Then we go back in time and basically, Patrick and Art are in college and they're, practicing on the court and, they're talking about Tashi and stuff like that. And Patrick is, dating Tashi now, but Art doesn't know. And the way, Patrick lets Art know that he's, sleeping with Tashi now is that he puts the ball in the center of the racket the same way Art serves. And so when Art finds this out, he's actually kind of shocked. But Art goes behind his friend's back and has like lunch with Tashi at Stanford University because they're all in college at the same time. And he's like trying to throw shade on his friend's game, saying, "Oh, I don't know if Patrick actually loves you. He might just be playing you and stuff like that." And then she's like, "Well, I didn't say I loved him either. So why are you all up in our business and stuff like that?" And then, Art goes back and tries to do the same thing with Patrick. And Patrick is like, "You snake, you're trying to break us up," and stuff like that. What did you think about those things?
Yeah, because I mean, Art was sneaky, but he doesn't give off sneaky vibes from the beginning. He's always like this sort of silly, naive guy. But it was interesting to see that part of him, and also like how he reacted when Patrick let him know that him and Tashi were sleeping together. Because he smiled at Patrick's face, but then when he turned around, he was like disappointed and sad because he also liked Tashi as well. And yeah, like I like the fact that Tashi and Patrick weren't dumb enough to fall for Art's game. Cause it would have been like super cheesy if they did argue about that. And I also like how Patrick reacted to Art because he said like, "Yeah, you're a little snake, but I like that. Like, I like you having passion about something." So it was like telling me, and also there was the same sort of connection between Tashi and Art because Tashi wanted Art to have passion about tennis. And he was sort of like being pushed towards that. And Patrick was doing the same thing, but about like Art breaking up their relationship.
Yeah.
But I like how there are like similar dynamics between different characters in this trio.
Yeah, this trio that really just needs to be a trio. Like they just need to be polyandrous. Like let Tashi had two boyfriends. I think that's one of the biggest, underlying themes of this film. It's like we find it impossible to think that this girl could just have two boyfriends and that everybody could get along. You know what I mean? I feel like if this film once again were the reverse, where Tashi was a boy and the two other characters were girls, like we could have thought of a way that, okay, they could all make this work. You get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, because it also felt like Art and Patrick's were somewhat similar. Like they did say a couple of lines that were the same. And then also Tashi and Patrick were similar as well. And then Tashi and Art were similar as well. So it was like three of them were made for each other.
Yeah, the three of them were kind of made for each other, but also at the same time, like Tashi is the only one that can bring the greatness out of both of them because these guys are unfocused, as we'll see later. Like Art is putting all of this effort into trying to snake his way into Tashi's panties instead of trying to be the best tennis player he can. Because by the way, throughout this film, Tashi keeps on saying like, "You guys suck." Like I keep seeing you play and you are really bad. And yeah, they don't care about that, but they care more about who Tashi is dating right now. You get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, Tashi's like goal, I think Tashi was the best tennis player, and then it was Zweig, and then it was Art. I felt like that was the ranking in terms
Right.
of like tennis, but Zweig wasn't good at tennis because he was so passionate about it. He was just like good at it.
Right. And I think Art actually became better than Zweig because he had Tashi in his corner. And I think that takes us to the next scene. So, Tashi and Patrick and Art, they're all still in college, but Patrick was on tour doing competitions in different parts of the country. He comes back to campus and he's trying to hook up with Tashi in the dorm room and stuff like that. And he's like, "I miss you." And she's like, "I saw you on TV and you really sucked." And he's like, "Can we not talk about tennis?" And she's like, "All I want to do is talk about tennis." And they start to have like a fight while they're like making out and stuff like that. So then Tashi gets up and says, "Okay, I guess I'm going to train and prepare." So she starts doing squats and lunges, getting ready for her match later. And Patrick is like, "Why do you have to do this now? Like, do you care more about tennis than us? And basically she says yes. And so then Patrick leaves and, Tashi looks very, upset and depressed about that. And then later on, she's having her match and, Patrick is not coming to the match, but Art is there in the crowd. And it's a very, very intense tennis match that she's having with this other girl. And while, Tashi is playing, this girl in the crowd is wearing a cool shirt called the Dunkinator. And that's the highlight of the scene, right?
You're silly. And I know you said, I want that t-shirt like
I
5 times.
want the Dunkinator t-shirt. That was such a cool shirt. I want Zendaya on my chest, smacking a tennis ball in like a red skirt. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I want that too, not gonna lie. That could be our couple t-shirt.
Absolutely. But no, the highlight of this scene is that this is the scene where Tashi is like playing her heart out on the court and she goes to smack the ball, but her knee sort of twists in a wild direction. There's a really excruciating close up of like her knee becoming displaced and she screams in agony and pain. And the only person there to really help her are the doctors and Art, who runs to the field to be there for her. And while, Tashi is like recuperating in the doctor's office, Patrick comes in there and Tashi yells, out, out, get out. I don't want to see you, Patrick. And then Art says, Patrick, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out, bro. And yeah, what did you think about those scenes?
First of all, I have to say, just by like you describing the knee scene, the knee accident scene, I once again have like chills down my spine because it was so like real. And there was the sound of like the cracking of the bones in the background. And then we saw like the little bone just like switching sides on her knee. And it was like really done well, like this close up. And I definitely felt that, and I was like, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
So yeah, that part of the director and the cameraman, the shooting, it was really good. And yeah, coming to like Tashi's and Patrick's relationship, I feel like they are like this toxic couple, or they were a toxic couple where like Zendaya, Tashi, she just like cares about tennis, which is also problematic as well. Because she's like, I don't really care anything about like other than tennis. And, yeah, I don't really care that you love me or we have to like emotionally connect. I just want to get like an orgasm while you win. Basically. And then Patrick is like, can you stop caring so much about tennis? Like, I miss you and I want to be with you and things like that. And going back to like what you said before about Caesar and Cleopatra and Antony, you sent me a video and in there it also said that like Anthony, was going to war and he didn't really pay attention to the war, so he let a lot of his men die because he just wanted to be back with Cleopatra. And people judged him for it. So, yeah, this sounds like that. Like, Patrick just doesn't care about tennis as much as he cares about Tashi.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like, Mark Antony was going to war with Rome to protect Egypt, but he was more worried about the Egyptian queen than the actual country. So imagine Mark Antony trying to get into bed with Cleopatra, and then Cleopatra's like, I'm not giving you no pussy. You're not saving the country. And that's exactly sort of like what Tashi did. Like, she's like, you are not winning out there, my guy. That's what we are here to do. And, and I think once again, it might not make sense to a lot of people because I think it's so easy to write this film off as just like Tashi is on a power hungry tennis trip, right? She just wants to be the best. But I feel like this film would have done a lot more justice to itself if they highlighted the fact Tashi is going to college on a tennis scholarship. Tashi comes from poverty. Tashi, is this young black girl trying to make it in this all white world. And highlight the fact that, she's trying to really climb by working as hard as she can do, but also trying to have the best of both worlds, like being a college girl, getting dick, having hot boyfriends, whatever, but also still excelling. And I think sometimes this film is highlighting the truth that maybe you can't have it all. Maybe if Tashi only focused on tennis and not these guys and trying to help them come up too, she would be further ahead or the bad things wouldn't have happened to her. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And, building on that, coming to the accident scene, and how like she sort of asked Patrick to get out of the hospital. I
Hmm.
felt like she was blaming Patrick for it because she was emotionally distressed. And
Yeah.
she never shows that to any of the guys really. And we always sort of see her be emotional whenever she's alone,
Hmm.
only because it felt like after they had their fights, there was like a close up scene of Tashi's face and
Hmm.
she looked like she was going to cry,
Yeah.
but she didn't. So there is that, feeling of she's always trying to make her look strong, but she does actually care about Patrick or having a relationship, but
Yeah.
she just wants to have it her way and
Yeah.
not like the way Patrick wants, like all lovey-dovey, just a relationship. She
Right.
wants,
She
yeah,
wants power couple.
yeah, yeah. She wants power couple and she wants to be on top as well.
Yeah.
And she wants, like, I guess her partner also to be like, pushing her as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I felt like she was blaming Patrick for her accident
Hmm.
because she was like, "You got in a fight with me, and because I was emotionally stressed,
Hmm.
I, didn't pay attention to my steps or something."
Yeah. Yeah, that could be like what she's thinking. I can highly see that, that maybe she blames herself, but also blames Patrick a bit for her accident. And yeah, so basically, Tashi is trying to continue training and playing tennis after she heals, but as she's playing with Art, like she realizes she just can't keep up anymore. And there's like this emotional scene where she like sits under a tree and like cries while rubbing her knee. And then like a few years later, she meets up with Art again after they graduate, and Art is like continuing his tennis career, and they have like a date at Applebee's, and Art tells Tashi, I don't really talk to Patrick anymore. We sort of like fell out, and basically they have like their second kiss outside of the Applebee's. And, then that's the beginning of the relationship between, Art and Tashi after that. And then we also fast forward a few years later back to the current day where, you know, the match is about to happen between Patrick and Art. And Patrick comes up to Tashi at the hotel and says, "Come outside with me, let's smoke." And, Patrick floats this idea to Tashi like, "Listen, whether I win or lose, I want you to train me so that I can become the Grand Slam champion." Because Art is at the end of his career. He's about to fall off. But I got one good season left in me. And think about the glory you would have as a manager if you took, Patrick Zweig, ranked 126 in the world, to be the greatest, tennis player, right? And she's like, "You don't even matter to the most avid tennis fan in the world. Like, you're nobody." And he gives her her number. He gives her his number in case she changes her mind. And like, she walks away in slow mo with the wind blowing in her hair. What did you think about any of those scenes?
First of all, I was gonna say this before, but I forgot. So whenever like we're going to the past, there's also like the separator scene where we go to another event in the past, and the separator scene is like the present while Zweig and Zweig and Arts is having their match.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that like first set, Zweig won, and in the past he got the girl first, and then
Mm-hmm.
like the second set, Art won or something like that because he got the girl after
Mm-hmm.
Zweig. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like this sort of game mentality as well with the events that were happening,
I
and I
didn't
really
notice that.
I really like that.
Yeah.
And coming to the scene that you just described,
Mm-hmm.
with like, Tashi's and Patrick's talk, it feels that at that point, it felt like Patrick was the only one who sort of saw everything as it was and accepted
Mm-hmm.
it. Because he was saying to Tashi, like, Art doesn't want to play anymore. He just wants to eat burgers and he wants to retire. But I know. like, I know you want to still train people and you still want to be in the tennis world.
Hmm.
So why don't you come and train me and make me like the best person, or like the best tennis player, whatever. So I felt like, yeah, he was the only one seeing for things how it was, and Tashi was just being sort of like petty and just telling him to fuck off, basically. And then also, Patrick says something like, "Did you tell him about Atlanta?" And
Ooh,
then right then and there, I knew that like they had something, like they had an affair or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, like he was like the most honest person, just telling it how it is, which sort of like made it annoying as well, because it made it annoying, but it also made him likable at the same time.
yeah.
And when Tashi was walking away, I was like, throw the goddamn phone number away. And she didn't. She put it in her pocket. And that's when also I knew she was going to call him again as
Hmm.
well. And it felt like she still had feelings for him as well.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, shout out to Tyler for joining into the conversation. If you got anything you want to add on to the movie, let us know. I was thinking, like, how crazy would she be to still invest into Patrick's career? Like, he's the same age as Art. Like, if she's gonna try to make somebody a new champion, she should start over and possibly, how about train a girl? Like, how about do something else with her career, right? Like, cause I really think this film sort of does a disservice to Tashi's genius by, hitching her to Art's story and Patrick's story. Like, she could have easily, you know, if her tennis career falls, she could become a great coach. She could open up her own court. Like, she could do so many other things. But I know there's a movie that needs to be made and a story that needs to be told. But I was like, if I, in Tashi's mind, I was like, I'm not going to train your old ass, your old losing ass. You get what I'm saying? And, yeah, when they brought up Atlanta and then the flashback scene started coming after that, I was like, oh, wow. Wow. She's really going back and forth with these guys. And, yeah, basically they fast forward to the future. And, basically when they were in Atlanta, when Art and Tashi were in Atlanta for a competition, I believe Art's grandmother died. And on top of that, he lost a match too. So like Tashi is like sitting there all depressed and sad in the hotel lobby drinking scotch. And then out of nowhere, Patrick comes to the window and he like sees her. And by the way, Patrick always has like this weird, wild looking face. Like he's always caught with his hand in the cookie jar type of look to his face. Do you notice that?
Yeah, it's that evil smirk.
Patrick has just like this weird, weird face. And so
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like, sorry, but it's like he constantly like just fucked someone's girlfriend or boyfriend. And like
yeah.
he knows about it and he's just like so like evil.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But then there's also this scene sort of like towards the present when Patrick and Art are in a sauna at the country club where they're having their tennis match. And Patrick comes up to Art with his dick in his face, like, with the towel knot wrapped around him. And he's, telling Art, hey, I'm just glad to play with you again. I'm glad to see you again. And, uh, Art is saying like, you don't matter. The problem is you think we're in the same league or the same category. And I misquoted, Tashi earlier. Tashi didn't say you don't matter to the most avid tennis fan. It was Art who said this to Patrick, right? And, yeah, basically Art is trying to diminish Patrick, but Patrick is sort of like, guy, I'm just here to see you. But also, Patrick knows that he slept with Tashi and he hints at it by talking about Atlanta. And then we go back to the flashback where, Patrick and Tashi have that passionate kiss in the hotel lobby after, Art's, grandmother dies and then they disappear to have sex. And, yeah, yeah. What did you think about any of those scenes?
Yeah, about the scene where, it was Tashi and Patrick, seeing each other again.
Hmm.
Tashi was in like a hotel lobby, right? And she was
Yeah.
like listening to the news about tennis and they were talking like, um, yeah, like Art is on top of his best game. He's one of the like favorites that could
Hmm.
that could do the US Open. So we know like it's Art's sort of peak period at that
Mm-hmm.
time. And then right after that, they show Anna Mueller, the girl that's, Tashi played with when she was at her A game.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I think there, like, she was thinking, like, oh, I could have been at the top because I easily beat Anna Mueller
Mm-hmm.
before. And now because I can't play anymore, she's on top. Like, what a shame.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like she was feeling, sad for herself and also resentment towards Art as
Yeah.
well. And then she sees like Patrick, and I felt like her kiss or her affection towards Patrick, yeah, there was like some missing feelings, like she missed
Mm-hmm.
him, but at the same time she was gaining her power back, like against maybe Art or just for herself as well,
Yeah, but
because she knew,
I
yeah.
was trying to understand that. Like, what is it she sees in Patrick? Because, like, it's not like Patrick is the guy who had the deep passion. Maybe Patrick might have been the more talented one, but talent isn't what matters to Tashi. She cares about the passion for the sport. So I'm like, why are you kissing on Pat? It's not like he's the missing piece. He's not the one that got away. You get what I mean?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think that was the reason because she felt defeated in life because of her injury, and her husband, who she is training, is at the top, but she didn't have it herself. And I felt like her kissing Patrick there was her trying to like gratify herself in some sort of way.
Mm.
Gaining back power because she knows she can have power over these guys.
I get what you're saying. I just don't see it though. I just don't see that part. That's like a missing piece for me because it's not like Art wasn't the caring husband. Like he literally tried to go down and see, what Tashi was doing, but then Tashi's over there flirting with her ex. You get what I'm saying? And it's not like we don't see Art, try to take care of his kids and stuff like that. Like we see that later in the film. Like like Tashi goes to creep with Patrick and sleep with Patrick, and then she comes back home and Art is in the bed with the kids. So I don't see this thing where it's like, oh, she wants her power back, she wants agency, she wants care and affection, because it's not like Art isn't affectionate or isn't
Yeah.
loving.
She doesn't want affection. No, that's not what she wants. Of course, she doesn't even want to, like, it's not about sex or the affection or the love. It was about power at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew she had the power to take Patrick, basically.
I got you. She just
Take
wants
his
power again.
pussy. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. I got you. Well, she's pushing P. Tashi is pushing P. But yeah, basically after the kiss in Atlanta scene when they disappear and it's assumed that they had sex. Yeah, there's this scene in the present day when Tashi is in bed lotioning herself up, ready to go to sleep. Art is in the bathroom, and then he comes out to Tashi and says, I want to quit. I want to quit tennis after this year, after this season. I'm tired. I'm tired of it all. And I want to know if that matters to you. Like, tell me it doesn't matter whether I win or lose, whether I keep playing or keep or quit, whatever. And Tashi turns to him coldly and says, it doesn't matter, Patrick. It doesn't matter, Art. You can do what you want to do. I'm not making you play. It was such a passive aggressive, like, I just wanted to jump through the screen. And so he's like, you say that, but you don't mean that and stuff like that. So he like walks away and then he basically like gets down on his knees to her in the bed and says, tell me the truth. Tell me it doesn't matter for real, for real. And then she like rolls her eyes and says, if you quit, I'll leave you. If you lose, I'll leave you. Right? Is that what you want to hear? And then she's like, oh God, finally the truth or something like that. And, yeah, that was my favorite scene in the entire film because it's like these defeated men, these men are forced to be great at the expense of like this woman basically like cucking them, like grabbing them by the balls and say, you better win if you want this pussy. Right? So I don't know. I really like that scene. Tell me if I broke it down right. What do you think?
Yeah. Just going a little bit back to the sauna scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think there Patrick manipulates art with truth
Mm-hmm.
because he says things like, you know, like you don't matter. You know, if you want to retire, she's not going to let you retire or she's not going to love you anymore. Something like that. So I think Art knew that before, but he didn't admit it to herself. And then just talking with his ex-friend,
Mm-hmm.
he sort of like came to the conclusion and faced the reality. And then he also faced Tashi with that. And it felt like, yeah, Tashi was saying that because she assumed that's what he wanted to hear as well. But there was like a lot of truth in it. And she knew, or also he knew that, you know, she wouldn't be that interested in him if he stopped playing tennis. But
Mm.
it's sort of like she has to because they're family. He's her husband. They have a kid. So like, it's like she has to say, you know, yeah, you can quit. Like, I'll still love you.
No,
But
but
that's not what she wants.
I feel like it's so interpretive, that scene, right? Because Art says, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been doing this forever. It's embarrassing to do this while you're 40. I want to quit and do something else. And I feel like she is being kind of honest. I think you could interpret this as her saying like, Art, I'm your coach. I'm not your boss. I work for you. She says this. Those are her exact words. And he's like, no, I don't believe you. And I think he doesn't believe her because that's not the relationship that they've had the entire time. She's been constantly telling him like, you have to do this, or pushing him to do this passive aggressively or very forcefully to do this, right? But him like telling her this at that moment, I think you can interpret this as her saying like, yeah, if you do want to quit, I am not forcing you. I've never forced you to do anything. I might have pushed you, but I never made you do it. And yeah, I think she's not lying at that point. That's my interpretation of it. But
She's not lying, but she's saying what she's supposed to say. Because I think that is truly how she feels. Yes, like she would still be her, you know, wife, and she's didn't force him and all those things. Those are true, yes. But at the same time, what she wants him to do is keep on playing. But she
no,
accepts the fact that like she cannot do that. So that is true as well. Like they are both true, but they also both know that she won't be passionate enough if he stops playing as well.
no, I disagree. If you look at her face when she like rolls her eyes and shakes her head and she says, if you don't win tomorrow, I'll leave you. And then she says, I'm serious. Does that help you? Like she's saying it like, you know how like like how women know what to get their man hard with? Like, yeah, it's big. Does that help you? Are you hard now? Like she's saying the words that she knows will push him to actually just get over the edge, but it's not exactly what she wants. You know what I mean? Cause I think he came to her sincerely and she knew it, and she was trying to be as real as she can in her cold way. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's what I was saying too. Like, it's not what she wants, but she's telling him, you know, what he wants to hear and what she's supposed to say as a wife.
But do you think you don't think that's what she wants? Like
I,
she would be okay. She wouldn't leave her husband, her baby daddy, by,
I don't think she would leave him, but eventually she might. Like, I
mhm.
don't think she would leave him right after the game, but after a couple of years, it's like she might get bored of him.
I disagree. I disagree. I think she was looking for a way out. And there's this final scene when like he's like resting on her thigh like a baby and his booty's in the air and she has to like rub his head and she just looks like a trapped woman. You know what I mean? She just looks so sad and depressed. Like I have to take care of this big man baby by telling him he's not good enough. Like she's tired of being the mistress, like the dominatrix. Go ahead.
I think there she's realizing what Patrick said to her was true. Because Patrick said to her what happened. He said, you know, Art wants to retire and you want to keep on training somebody. And I feel like she just is realizing that it's true. And she might possibly want to train Zweig because she loves him.
Hmm.
And that's like the perfect relationship, right? She trains Zweig. Zweig wants to be trained. Art doesn't want to play anymore, so he could just be there and have sex with them. and it's like the perfect relationship. And I feel like that's the thing that makes the most sense for them to be happy, maybe. But she can't tell that, and she can't do that because of art.
She can't do that because number one, that wouldn't work because they're both old guys. They're both about to be 40 years old. Their tennis careers are up. Like there's younger, better players out there. You know what I'm saying? I think the problem is that, she's trapped herself with a man who feels trapped himself. She trapped herself in this trap, right? By hitching herself to this wagon of this man. And there's a very sad scene at the end of this scene when, Art says, "Can you hold me until I fall asleep, please?" And, and Tashi just says, "Okay." Like both of them are trapped in this situation, where they can't get out. Yeah, even if they became polyandrous, it wouldn't fix things because it's not about the relationship. It's about the fact that they're tied to tennis. They're tied to a sport and
Yeah.
the depreciating abilities of their athletes. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I still do think Tashi believes that Zweig can do good things in his last term. Like, yeah, he's old, and it's only like he will have probably 1 more or 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Tashi knows that Zweig is really good at tennis.
Yeah, yeah. But moving forward from that scene, basically at midnight before the match happens, Tashi sneaks out with Patrick, and she tells Patrick, like you gotta lose the game. I want you to lose the game, and Patrick is like, no, I'm not gonna do it, and if you think you're just gonna fuck me to make me lose, that's not gonna work. And, he gets really upset at her and kicks her out of the car and stuff like that. And then she turns around and like spits in his face, but then they have sex in the back seat of the car. And, yeah, they're talking about, what the situation will be. And Patrick actually agrees to lose the match, but he doesn't say how he will lose the match. But he agrees to do it, right? Tashi goes back to the hotel, finds Art in bed with their daughter, and, basically now we're at the final scene when they have the match, the tennis match, and, yeah, it's very intense. The score is tied. It's getting more and more intense as the game builds up. And one of the final scenes is that Patrick puts the tennis ball in the center of the racket the same way he did 13 years ago to signify that he had sex with Tashi. And when Donaldson sees this, he says, "Fuck off." And he looks at Tashi and says, "Fuck you, nigger bitch."
No, she doesn't. Don't believe Simon.
And yeah, basically, there's this make or break scene when Art is like sweating on the camera and looking down pensively. Then he rises to the occasion, and they have this final intense volley back and forth. And yeah, they basically have this one scene where they're getting closer and closer with the ball to the net, and Art jumps in the air to like spike the ball so he can win the match, and he's jumping over the net, and Patrick catches him and holds him in his arms, and the whole crowd goes crazy, and the final scene is Tashi stands up and says, "Yeah, come on." And both of them look at her and say, "Fuck you, nigga." I'm
Stop
sorry.
it. No.
I'm sorry. And that's the end of the movie. What did you think of it?
Okay, first of all, Tashi going back to Patrick and like them having that fight in the car, it felt like they both enjoy it. Like it's once again like toxic, they love fighting and then having passionate sex afterwards, and they want to be around each other. They just cannot like deny their chemistry. And also like Patrick agreeing to lose the game without any further questions. It was like, I was like, he really loves this girl, or he really loves this toxicity of their nature of their relationship with three of them, because he really needs to win this actually. Like he doesn't have any money. he can't eat, he doesn't have a place to stay, and he really needs like the winning money. And still he's okay with, you know, just giving up the game. So it was like, he's really dedicated to this like whole storyline of their relationship. And that spit and kiss scene was crazy. It was gross.
Yeah.
Because like, why would you spit someone's face and then like lick it off 2 seconds later? But once again, it was sort of showing that like Tashi has a love-hate relationship with Patrick. It's toxic, but they cannot give it up. And yeah, going to the final scene, it was really intense. I really, really, really liked it. And it was like, you know, I really hate it when movies rush the ending, because it's one of the most important parts of the movie, and that's where you get the satisfaction from the movie for me. And I really like that it was sort of like slow-mo, but the music in it was like fast-paced, so it kept you on your toes, and you were constantly like, who's gonna win? What's going to happen? Like, how is the truth gonna come out? And when Patrick put the ball to the core of the racket, I was like, whoa, like, oh my God, what is happening? And yeah, like Art's reaction and everything, it was perfect. The way how the truth was revealed. And it also felt like these two guys still remember everything. They still remember their connection. Like that magic is still there because they can communicate through this little symbol that they have. And yeah, it was like really good. Also, Art just throwing sort of like giving empty scores to Patrick. It was like he was taking revenge from Tashi, and he was like saying to him like, okay, you know, I'm losing it. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I'm just like giving up the game. But then he played it for himself and for his dignity in the last set.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm gonna give it my all and I'm gonna win this freaking set. And also he won his friendship back at the end for me. He won the passion that he had towards tennis, playing with someone he really cared about and like just reconnecting that passion again with his friend.
Yeah.
And for Tashi's reaction, once again, it felt like she saw a really good game of tennis and she got high from it. She got an orgasm from it, you know? And that's what she wanted to begin with. And I feel like that's what she liked about those two guys to begin with as well.
Yeah. Shout out to the cinematographer because there were some very interesting angles here. Like there was a camera attached to the ball. There were shots under the courts, like where you saw their feet and their muscles moving and everything like that. So the cinematography for that final scene was very, very cool. I really liked it. And the tension was built up very well. I disagree with you about the final scream that Tashi said. I feel like she didn't know that the two guys told each other something that they didn't know about, right? That she didn't know about. And I think that's the first time in this film that happens, right? Because up to that point, Tashi knew everything that was happening between the two guys, except in that moment, right? And so when she sees that match happen like that, it's not definitive whether Art won or not. So she's saying, come on. Like she wants Art to win at any cost and she wants blood. And she doesn't understand that these two guys found love again between them. And, yeah, there is that difference in points of view between the characters. You know what I mean?
For me, I think she didn't understand it in the beginning, but later she understood because of how Art was reacting to the game. I think she understood later, not immediately. Yeah. But for me, I think she didn't really care about the love between the two guys. She cared about the tennis, yes. Yeah. But it was sort of like her seeing that passion in her towards tennis. Yeah. Again, that's how I felt it, yeah.
I got you. But shout out to Tyler. He wants to jump in. Tyler, did you see this film? What did you think of this film? Anything you want to say about it if you want to unmute?
Yeah. I just see the film 2 days before, and I think you guys just miss the point because I think, from my point of view, this is not a love film, or not even a threesome film. It's a gay film. Just the girl's character is not that important.
You think it's a gay film or a game film?
Yeah, it's a gay film. It's just a love between that two tennis player. Not the girl's character is not that important.
Mm. Okay, okay. Like, tell me why you think it's like a gay film. I think there's some gay parts in it, but I don't
No, no,
think
no.
like
It's
it's
not
really a love
just a
story. I
gay
don't think.
part. It's not just a gay part. It's the whole gay film. Because
Mm,
in my kind of people point of view, we started a film based on the director's view, because this director is basically is a gay director, and he picture a lot of gay films. So in I started this film. I go to Southeast Asia for stay
well,
for a while and
whoa,
then
whoa,
go
whoa, whoa.
back
All
to,
right, so
yes, sorry.
let's take a step back. The director is Luca Guadagnino, right?
Yep,
And his
it's
one of his
Italian.
most famous films is Call Me by Your Name, which is a
Yep,
gay film.
yep.
But all of his other films generally are kind of romances that are heterosexual. We Are Who We Are, Challengers, Suspiria. I don't think that's a gay or not gay film, but yeah, I don't know. Talk to me.
In my point of view, already seen this film. In my first thought of that, it's a gay film, and just it's so obviously.
Is it just because they have the two guys kissing and hugging at the end?
No, no, no. Because in the screenwriter and in the whole plot, I don't think there's real love between the girls and that two. I see some review that it's a threesome film, but yeah, I don't agree with that. It's a definitely not a threesome, because it's not like just a French movie or American movie, like there are chemical from between the girl and each of the boys. No, no, no. I don't think it's a love. I just hear that uh uh just to see that the girl only care about tennis, only care about the prize, the
hmm
reward. They didn't
I,
care about love. There's no
I,
love at all.
I don't know if she would say she only cares about tennis because she did have a baby, right? Like if she really wanted to play tennis again,
Doesn't
I
mean
don't think she would
anything. It's
want to be
just
a
a
mother.
baby. Just like if he choose this boy, oh, they have a baby, they have a family. If they choose another boy, they also have a family. It's just not important.
I don't think there's any real love between Patrick and Art because when they had that scene alone in the sauna, it wasn't like Art said, "I missed you too." He came off like he really hated Patrick. I don't know.
It's a basically a sport movie, so it's not that kind of gay love. It's a between. It's combined by sports. It's combined by the secret part of a man to a man. That kind of love. It's not like a sexually love.
Okay, so they had a sports romance, but
Yep.
it wasn't love.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
It's
that's
a love.
gay. Are you
It's a
saying that's
love.
gay? I think if
Yeah.
you
It's
say
a
that, then you
love.
say all sports are
I think
gay.
love and hate. That's the same emotion.
Wait, Tyler, if you say that, then you're saying like all sports are gay. Anytime a guy plays a sport against another guy, that's
Yeah,
gay.
I think there's some weird thing between Messi and Ronaldo. Yep, I really think that.
Acting, what do you think? What do you think? I can't get with this.
I think the director, Luca, he does a really good job on blurring the lines between like sexual identity, because even in Call Me by Your Name there was a side quest of the main character when he was with a girl, and his connection with the girl also felt real as well. Like he actually liked the girl and did enjoy the sexual connection with her as well. And also same with We Are Who We Are. There was like always that blurring of, sexual identity. And I feel like he does the same in Challengers as well. And, yeah, I do agree on Tyler when he says like, it it might not be only like sexual, and it might be this sort of platonic, sportsmanship love, but I feel like they also had that platonic relationship outside of tennis as well. But I think Tashi also does, like, yeah, she cares a lot about tennis, but she also like went out and slept with Patrick, risking her family, her
Yeah.
career to an extent, her child, her husband. So, she wouldn't have done that if she didn't really like Patrick.
Yeah, there's too much booty clapping in this film for me to say it's a gay film, right? Like, okay, the guys kiss once, but Patrick and Tashi are fucking all the time.
It's
Uh,
not like that. Just I see some Hong Kong just a film about seeing that film. All the feminists in Hong Kong are angry about the film because they think the ghost character didn't have a whole story, didn't have a just the own story. They always connect with one guy and connect with another guy. They don't. The girl's character didn't have their own story, so the feminists in Hong Kong just hate the movie.
The
You know that?
feminists in Hong Kong
Yep,
hate this. Wait,
yep.
the feminists
Very
hate this
hate.
film because of a ghost character. What's the ghost character? I'm
The girl's
confused.
character,
Oh, the girl's character. Okay.
yes, yeah, yes. There's no woman character in this film. Yeah, yeah.
Y'all calling Zendaya a man? Zendaya.
No, no, I think that is not important. They don't have their own story. Yeah, that's the the feminist thinking
I
of
got
that.
so the radical feminists feel like Tashi didn't get a story in and of herself.
Yeah,
Like her
yeah,
story is underdeveloped.
yeah. They think the Dias character is not a real character. So
Mm,
basically, we all in my point of view, in all point of
hmm.
view,
Yeah,
just
yeah. Go
this
ahead.
is a so gay film. There's no there's no just a connection, no love, no emotion between boys and girls.
Well, I don't know how you can see that because she's like constantly kissing the guys, and if we're going back to the idea like the girl doesn't have a story here, I kind of agree with you, Tyler, because I feel like there could have been more exploration of Tashi and who she was and where she came from. But there is a story there because she has like this determination to win. She wants to be successful at all costs. And that's sort of the motivation for both of these guys to chase after her and her to control them.
I think just the girl's character is just like a coach, not a lover. It's a pure coach, just like Dumbledore or Gandalf, like that.
She's Dumbledore. She's
Yeah,
Gandalf.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, acting. What you think?
I mean, this whole conversation reminded me of that comment I saw on Letterboxd where they were saying basically the three of their relationship resembles a tennis game, and Tashi is the ball, and
Mm,
Art and Patrick are the two players, but when one of them is missing, there is no relationship or there is no game. So
mm,
maybe I might agree on that, like Tashi is the ball, so he's not an actual player in the relationship, but also without her, without the guys using her, sort of like as a connection builder, I guess,
mm.
there is no connection between them either. Or maybe their connection wouldn't be as exciting without her.
Right,
So I
right.
think she adds up to their relationship, and I think both guys are bisexual.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think y'all are reaching for conclusions with that one. But
You,
no,
you
like
you know that the feminists were very hate of your theory.
they hate this theory. I
Yeah,
guess I don't know what feminists would be so mad about two guys, kissing each other and basically Zendaya having sex with two, hot white boys. I guess I don't know why they would be mad. But yeah, I don't know. Tyler, what's your final score for this film? Like, how do you
I like this
what
film. Yeah, I
you liked
really
it?
like this film. Yeah, I think
Okay,
four out of five, like that.
a 4 out of 5 out of
Yeah,
10. Out of 10, what would you give it?
out of 10, I would give it 7 or 8.
Seven
Yeah.
or eight. I'm surprised you say you liked this film because it's a gay film. So I'm confused, Tyler. Are
No,
you
no,
like?
no, no, no. I just love film. I don't like gay, but I love film. Film
Okay,
always go first.
okay. All right. And Acme, what's your score for this film?
I'm gonna give it the same score I gave it last night when I first saw it. So I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the camera angles. I like the music. I like a lot of the shots. I like the acting in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought there were some interesting themes that they explored. And the points I took were like, yeah, I do agree with you. They could have explored some characters more, like Tashi and their background.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some like editing choices that sort of sometimes seemed like they edited in like PowerPoint, like some of the writing and change of scenes, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like that bad. Like it wasn't bad. It was just like a directorial choice or editing choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Is it entertaining? Yeah. Is it fun? Yeah. There's some cheesy dialogue, like when they're at the beach and stuff, like, tennis is about love. It's a relationship. Like there's some cheesy stuff in there. I think this film has so many themes in it, and, it can be broken down a lot of different ways. I'm glad Tyler jumped in and told us about what people are thinking about this film in Hong Kong, because that's a totally different perspective. Like, it's so interesting to hear that. And, yeah, I'm just glad that we did watch it though. So shout out Nelson for suggesting it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that we watched it as well. And
Yeah.
like you said, like everyone can sort of interpret this movie in a different way, which makes it fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could look at this and just say, "Oh, Zendaya's living her fantasy. She's built for BWC, and she gets to just play with white boys all through the screen." Or you can look at this and see a modern Cleopatra story with Julius and Mark Antony. So I don't know. It's so many different ways it can be broken down.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Oh, final question. I have to ask you, Acty. You have to choose between Patrick or Art. Smash or pass?
Uh, I mean, I chose Art.
Wow. Why?
I don't know. He just seems more naive and yeah, like I can go for that.
Okay.
If I have to choose, but I mean, I wouldn't choose either of them in real life, really.
But Tashi confirmed that Patrick had the big peen.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that much. At the same time, Tashi had a kid with Art.
Hmm.
But if I have to choose, I'd choose Tashi.
You have to choose Tashi.
Yeah, Tashi is the best one out of the
Oh wow!
three.
Oh wow! Were you surprised Zendaya came out with a little bit of ass?
No, because I mean, I think, she has a nice shape. She probably works out and all that. So yeah, nice little bum.
Yeah, Tyler. Do you think Zendaya's hot?
Sorry?
Do you think Zendaya's hot?
Some days hot?
Do you think Zendaya, the girl that played
Yeah,
Tashi?
yeah, yeah. Of course, I'm a big fan.
You
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I read you guys a review from Hong Kong people. Just I'll translate for you. The woman seems to have the power, but she not only has to give birth to street man, teach him how to play, take care of his life, give him emotional value, but also have to be his homosexual enlightenment. This is a this is a pornography film made by a gay man, right? This is a
I
Hong
don't
Kong
know.
review.
I don't know if the writer is a gay man. I don't know, but that is a very interesting take. Like, this is a woman who had to sort of make these boys into men, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna take it even deeper. Like, for me, when I think about the history in America, like black women had to really raise the slave masters' children, and they would even make them suckle from their breasts and all that sort of stuff, and really raise these people up to be, the rulers and the dominators of society and stuff like that. So if we think about it, like Zendaya's playing a mammy. Zendaya's playing like a slave mammy around this thing. I think you could even make it there.
Wow, that's a very interesting take.
Well, I mean,
But
Actually, the actor is from Britain, not American.
what do you mean from Britain?
Yeah, the I don't know the character name. Patrick. Patrick, the character is from Britain. He's
Mm.
England man, not American.
Oh, okay, but the
He's very
movie takes
famous
place in
actually.
America.
He's
The
very
movie,
famous actually.
I know, but the movie takes place in America. I'm not talking about the
Okay, okay,
actors.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but yeah, yeah. Acting. Any other comments before we wrap it up?
no, I mean, I think the last point you said, it's very interesting.
Hmm.
It could be taken there in terms of like, yeah, there's a black woman in a white dominated sport, and she loses her ability because she has an accident, and then she has to be like the supporter of these white guys,
Yeah.
basically, and build them up and teach them how to do things in tennis, but also emotionally. So that's a very good point.
I
That's
mean,
all I'll say.
you could call this film Cleopatra Mammy, Auntie Cleopatra.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Not that much.
Like, because really, if you think about it, she is being like a slave mammy. She's taking care of these young white boys, making sure they're great, giving up her life, her success, her womb to make sure they have everything they need, right? And she even says it in the film, I'm taking good care of my white boys.
Wow. I mean, she only does that because she doesn't have power anymore to make it herself.
I mean, that's black people in slavery, right? In
Yeah.
slavery, we had no power, so we have to take care of massa.
Yeah. Yeah. I get you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Any other comments before we wrap this up, guys? Nah.
No.
Well, all right. Well, thank you, Tyler, for joining, man. We appreciate your input, man.
Sure,
Keep
sure,
joining.
sure,
Yeah. And if you have any film suggestions, please put them in the comments, please.
sure, sure, sure.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening, watching. Y'all be easy out there. Peace.